Hi everybody, welcome to Theo and Olaf. My name is Irene. With me is Olaf, our Samoyed doggy. And today we'll be providing an update on how Olaf's recent board and train went. Before I dive into the details of that, I want to remind you that we do have an email list and we'll be sending a summer update very soon. So if you want to hear more about us, what we're up to, how Olaf is doing, and just more beyond what we usually share on YouTube, be sure to subscribe via the link down below. Olaf's board and train was broken out into 3 phases. The first week was for Olaf to be familiar with the trainer's home, so he stayed inside for the most part. He was working on building rapport with the trainer, getting used to her pack, and it was really a way for him to build a relationship before starting training. The second week, Olaf finally had a chance to do outings, to explore different environments outside. And the third week was for him to really hone his new skills and behavior. And in between, the trainer also worked on little things like making sure that he was cooperative during grooming sessions. And Eric also had a chance to drop by and do some one-on-one training. That way it wasn't a massive dump of information after the board and train. So you're probably wondering if Olaf is a super good boy now. And the answer is that Olaf is doing a lot better than before, but he's not 100% perfect. Olaf still gets pretty excited in new environments when he sees new people or dogs, but the time it takes him to calm down has drastically decreased compared to before. So one example of that is we took him to a park recently. He sat on a bench with us and he was able to people watch, dog watch, and was very calm, didn't bark, settled down very well. And we also recently talked to our neighbors outside. Olaf was a little bit whiny, tried to talk in the beginning, but he went down on his own and was able to settle very quickly. So we're very proud of him for that because we had other incidents with neighbors where he would get very barky and we just had to leave, and it was very embarrassing for us. We could have done a longer board and train with Olaf. Ours was rather on the short side. We could have done maybe 5 weeks or so, but I think the vocalness is just something that comes with the Samoyed breed. So it can get better, but I would say it won't be 100% perfect, but we have the tools now to manage it a lot better. One other benefit of the board and train is that Olaf learned how to play well with other dogs. And it was really great for him to have exposure with dogs that do play well. So Olaf can be a bit nippy and a bit, I guess, pushy when it comes to play. So now he's learned to play well by doing this little play bow to initiate play, which we didn't know was a thing before. Eric would do it all the time to play with Olaf, but now we know that it's a good sign for dogs to play together. As you can see, Olaf is now on a cot, and this is a dedicated place for Olaf to learn to settle down and to just hold his place, especially when there's movement around the house or when people come over. He is not allowed to get off this place until we instruct him. So it's been a great way for Olaf to learn self-control, to just be okay with things moving around and for him to be calm. The other thing about Olaf's cot or place is that we want this to be a zone where guests cannot pet him. And the reason is because we want Olaf to be calm before he gets any attention from people. Once Olaf is calm, we can then release him, but he has to be in a sit position before he gets any pets. If he moves out of a sit, gets up or whatever, then guests have to stop petting him until he's back in a sit position. So training-wise, there are a few things that we have to do differently that will take us a little bit of time to get used to. So the first thing that we're doing differently is that we're using more implied duration commands. And what I mean by that is that a sit means sit, a stay means stay, until Olaf is released. So what that means is that we have to utilize a release word more frequently now. For us, we chose the word break because it's more obvious. We thought the word okay is a little bit too common of a term to use. So that's, it feels a bit wordy for us to always use break now, but at least Olaf knows to be in a position until he's released. The other thing that we're doing now is using the word no more with corrections, which seems like a no-brainer, but previously we would repeat a command again. But now what we do instead is if we correct, we say no first, and then we nicely say the command again until we get the response that we want from Olaf. The other thing that we learned from our current trainer is a lot about spatial manipulation from Olaf. So we realize now that Olaf likes to get into our bubble a lot. He likes to cross over. He likes to get on our toes, be in our space. So now when Olaf gets into our bubble, we'll kind of move him out a little bit more. And we're able to utilize more of our body to kind of get him into positions that we want. So instead of relying on like the e-collar or like the prong collar to get him to sit, we can now kind of walk up to him and he'll know to sit. We can now kind of hover over him and he knows to go to it down. So it's been really cool to use our body to indicate what we want from Olaf. Lastly, one major change for us has been with walking Olaf. So previously with our other trainer, we would have Olaf heel when it comes to walking. So he was very strict on our left side, and occasionally we would release him for a break. But now with our current trainer, she has said that loose leash walking is a lot better for the dogs to just explore, and heeling is more reserved for tight, crowded areas. So we've been doing that a lot more now, where Olaf has more space to roam around with. For the most part, Olaf has been pretty good with that. He doesn't really pull. On occasion, he will. I do think that our previous training with heeling him has made him really aware of the leash to not pull as much, so he's really enjoyed that a lot. The other thing that we're doing differently now is not letting Olaf mark everything during our walks together. So previously, Olaf would mark every tree, every bush, and it was very excessive. So now Olaf gets one pee break, one poop break, and that's about it. The rest of the time, he's expected to just walk, but he has the freedom of the length of the leash. The other thing that we're doing now is putting more value into Olaf's name. So when we call Olaf now, the expectation is that he'll give us eye contact. And we didn't realize that we weren't really doing that before, but now it's been really great to call his name and for him to pay attention to us. And we've been doing more practice in distracting environments, trying to call him, getting eye contact, and then really rewarding him for doing so. Lastly, I would say the thing that we're also working on is the tone of our voice when we do our commands. I think our trainer has told us that we either sound a little bit angry or upset, frustrated, whatever, mostly with Olaf's name, with commands in general. So we're working on just sounding happier. And even with a command like quiet, we don't want to give off a strong energy to that word because quiet means quiet, so we got to tone it down. So outside of training during the board and train, we did run into a few health things with Olaf. Olaf did get a penis infection during his time there. So Eric did have to take Olaf to urgent care, and Olaf was on antibiotics. He still is now, but he has gotten a lot better. But with the penis infection, he did wet himself in the crate. He was whimpering while urinating. So it wasn't great to see, but he is doing a lot better now, and the vet has suggested neutering to get rid of this issue and prevent it from happening again in the future. Olaf has also lost a bit of weight, about 5 pounds during the board and train. I suspect that's because he's playing so much with other dogs, getting a lot of exercise. So the vet also recommended just giving Olaf more food so that he can have more muscles again, especially in his butt. So you're probably wondering, okay, what's next after board and train? And the answer is that we'll be continuing the training that the trainer has started. And Olaf will be under a very strict regimen here. So when he's inside the house, the expectation is that he's either on his cot, in the crate, or doing some form of mental stimulation. He's not free to wander around the house aimlessly, at least for the first month. And then afterward, we can phase him out of these more stricter requirements. So we're looking forward to phasing him out of the treats, the prong collar, and eventually probably the e-collar. But for now, he's under very strict expectations, so he knows what to do inside the house. The other thing that we'll take advantage of is being able to board with the trainer as needed. The trainer does take vacation dogs that she has trained before, so it'll be a great option for us if we have to go somewhere or we're busy for the day, that we can drop him off. That way he can play with other dogs, get training, and it's a lot better than dropping him off at a rover person who's never worked with him before, and they'll probably get overwhelmed. So I would recommend a board and train if your dog has specific issues that you found hard to overcome. And if you are considering a board and train, I do have a few tips for you. My first tip is to get to know your trainer before you give your dog to that trainer. Get to know their style, their personality. I think for us, we were very used to our previous trainer. She was very hands-on, very educational. And our new trainer is great in a different way. She's less hands-on, but she talks more about like the dog psychology of things, comes more from a military background, so it's worked with a variety of different dogs. So I would say the difference in background has really helped, but it did take a little while to get used to the different training style. Once you get to know your trainer, I would also say have them recommend what the length of the board and train should be. For us, we had signed up for 3 weeks with the option to extend to 4 as needed, but our trainer has told us that she would have had Olaf start with 4 weeks at minimum, maybe extend that. So that would have been helpful to know from the get-go. The last thing I would say is for you or someone you know to be around in case there are any emergencies. So I was on vacation during Olaf's board and train, but Eric was around, which was very helpful when Olaf had his emergency. So do have a point of contact that's around during your board and train. So that's it for our board and train update with Olaf. I hope you found it to be very useful. Obviously, a board and train is not a one-time cure-all type of solution for your dog. There's still training that's involved, and you as the owners are the trainers, so it's an ongoing process even after the board and train. So if you have any questions about board and train, how it went for us, I'd be happy to answer them. Feel free to drop your comments in the section below. And as always, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching.